Anyways, what up, dude?
There we go. Do you see me?
I see you, and I saw you actually last time, and then as I said, I can see you, and then you disappeared.
Yeah, that sounds like me. Okay, I'm just gonna see if I can put this one here. How are you, Brian?
I'm well, but how are you?
I'm alive and kicking.
So Hawk and I talked for a couple minutes yesterday, and he's dangerously close to being a father for the second time, but
Indeed.
not like today, dangerously close, not like this week, but you are close.
We have we're 12 weeks left. So it's the last phase, or 11 weeks actually.
You know,
Uh,
the women in the room would probably say, yeah, that's what you say, that it's like the final stretch, but.
yeah, I usually like, well, it's gone pretty fast, hasn't it? So it's like, no. So, but I'm super excited. It's I have a boy since before, so it's another little guy. So it's gonna be crazy, but they're gonna have a lot of fun together. You have
So
one, right?
I have one. She's 11, going on like 30, 28. I don't know, going on like teenager. So we'll see how that goes. Get back to me. Get back to me in a year and a half about how I'm feeling about that.
Yeah. You have some fun years above you, in
Got it.
front of you.
So obviously you're in New York, right? You live in
Yep,
the five
yep,
boroughs,
yep. I do. I'm here in my apartment in Astoria.
where you've been for the
Uh,
last 6 months.
yeah, more or less. You go out and you look, and then you go in again, more or less. And last 2 months has been pretty all right. Like you're moving around, but you don't meet people. You avoid as much as possible. It's gone
I'm like
down here, but
I was in a drugstore 2 nights ago for the first time in 6 months. Like I was in a retail store because I needed a flu shot, so I walked into a CVS.
crazy.
It was crazy. I'd like they played music, like there was music on. It was kind of nice. There were people, you know. There were banana Kit Kat bars, which I thought was kind of weird.
Uh, Everybody, I haven't seen the banana Kit Kat. I have to look into that.
I wasn't allowed to buy them.
No.
She told me no. I had to order, like I'm allowed to order them, but I wasn't allowed to like wait in line for the purchase. I was like, okay, cool.
Uh, Everybody's walking around in their masks here, so but I feel good about it. Yeah, exactly.
Mark, it looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, okay, but okay. In addition, so you have a baby on the way. You've been in quarantine for 6 months, and you're working on this project, supposedly this HÅKAN Chocolatier project.
Yeah, so as a lot of you guys know, I was with a company named Fika, Swedish chocolate and coffee company for 11 years, and it for a few reasons went down, and I already decided since a long time ago I wanted to really do my own thing, my HÅKAN Chocolatier thing. So perfect time. I started it, and it's really focused on high-end weddings, events, luxury hotels, and so on. And you know how that goes. So with COVID, all that business disappeared. So I really started to think about the infrastructure on how to create my new company. So that's what I've been doing the last 6 months, on how to develop that at the same time as you have this toddler running around your legs.
How old?
Uh,
How old's the one there?
he's 19 months,
Got it. But
so it's a lot.
so you've been in the States a little longer than that, though, right? I mean, you talked about Fika. I mean, you
No,
came
I
this.
actually, I didn't start Fika. So I came from Sweden January 17, 2009, and I started Fika January 18, the day after. Um, and I came over to work and build this up with Fika.
Right.
And I was supposed to be here for 2 years. That was my idea, and then I wanted to go for a year to Australia or Sydney or New Zealand or something like that, and then I wanted to go to Tokyo for a year, and then back home and wrap it up. And 11 years later, that didn't happen.
You fell in love.
Yeah,
You know, you fell in
that
love with
was
the
a bit
city,
longer. Like I love the city for sure, and I
but you love
really
her more.
cuisine.
Wait, but Håkan, I don't want you to imply that you don't love your wife more than you love New York City.
My family is anything to me.
Right, there you go. Good answer.
Um,
I'm glad I could help you.
I love New York City, but I'm also done with New York City. So
Well,
I'm
you told me
looking for
that.
new hunting grounds. Yeah.
I mean, when we talked we were figuring out the last time we saw each other was at the Fine Chocolate Industry Association back in whenever it was
Was that
in
a
New York.
year ago?
Yeah, so probably last July, right?
Yeah,
So a year ago, July. Like you were
yeah.
moving to California. You were like, I'm out of here. Like I can't. I'm done with New York.
That was my idea, but I needed to finalize everything with Fika, sell my share, and being able to do that. Now, since everything went down, there was no share to sell, so I had to be rethink on how I was gonna do the next steps. Also, my wife is a New Yorker originally, so it's a kind of an easy thing to stay. I love New York, and it's also easy. I'm Swedish originally, so it's very easy for me to get home. It takes us 7 hours with the car to drive to her parents up in Watertown outside of Syracuse, and it takes 7 hours and 40 minutes with a flight over to Sweden. So it's interesting. But since everything here has happened, I have to say I'm lucky because I was about to sign a retail shop. I started everything here on Manhattan or in Brooklyn was my idea. COVID hit, and you know how everything went with that. So you don't really want to. I don't really want to open right now because it's so much gambling right now.
Right.
So
But
I started to rethink my idea, and I always wanted to live upstate. Swedish. I love nature. I want to have a house instead of a sardine can of an apartment, and I really want to do what I'm supposed to do. So I've been looking for spaces all over the valley and everywhere north of New York City.
I think of you as, I mean, chocolatier is a nice term, but I think of you kind of as a chocolate artist. Not kind of a chocolate artist. I think of you as a chocolate artist. I mean, if you think about like the stuff that you put online and the things that I've seen you create. I mean, the first time we met, you told me a story about, was it a wrestler? I can't remember what was the whole,
Don't
and I
know
want to hear
why.
that story in a minute. But I mean, like,
That's a good story.
but so now you're gonna have to tell it.
Yeah.
But like, you ended up on the Swedish Olympic team for pastry because, right? Because you were
Yeah,
supposed to sculpt, right?
correct. So everybody asks me, did you sculpt first and then chocolate, or chocolate and so I never sculpted anything before I started sculpting in chocolate, but it really became my thing. So 2005, I joined the Swedish culinary team, where you sign up to compete for them for 4 years, and the main goal is the Olympics, which was 2008. So we did World Cup in 2006. We did the Olympics in 2008, and then I worked Christmas in Sweden at the place. I've been at my last place, NK, for 8 years. You don't leave a chocolate factory after 7, 8 years without finalizing that Christmas when you really have to push it with your dignity. That's how I see it. So I did Christmas, and then I was done. It went good. We took gold medals. We placed second in World Cup 2006 and third in Olympics. But we took gold medals in all our categories, so it was great. But I was done competing after that. I was done. Everybody that competes knows how much time it takes to do stuff.
Hey, we'll get back to it.
Mm. Da, 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 da.
I got a couple of
There we go.
The designs for Hawkins like custom molds that are going to be released soon. I think they're getting tooled in Europe right
Oh,
now.
cool. Very cool.
So this one's the exciting one.
It's very different.
It looks like the shelves on the wall behind your head.
Yeah, it does, huh? It's cocoa beans.
Are they cocoa beans? Got it.
Yeah,
This one.
yeah,
It looks a little like a cookie, Håkan.
it kind of does. You'll see once it's finalized the idea I have with it. I
Okay.
really see the weddings coming in with that one.
Yeah. So the story, so for everybody else who doesn't know, we've started to do a line of custom molds that are chef inspired or chocolatier inspired, and Håkan agreed to do a couple for us. And so those are there's a bar there that's they were calling the River Rock bar, and internally we're calling the other one the cookie piece. Just
Great,
so you know.
great,
But
great.
but I think those should be available in the next 60 days, I bet. So we'll get yours to
Oh,
you, and then
cool.
other people can buy them too. But
Awesome.
so you're doing the Olympics. I mean,
Did the Olympics, and then I felt like I wanted to do something else. I was single. I was 26 at the moment. So I felt like if I'm gonna move somewhere in the world, I should do it now because I won't get another chance. That's how I felt. So and then I started to think about like how do you get like New York always sounded great. Like I've seen it on TV, so it must be cool. Uh,
it's how I
is
feel about
there a
Stockholm.
way to
By
get
the way,
in there?
that's like Stockholm. I've seen it on TV. It
Yeah,
looks great.
it's
I should
great.
spend
I
some
live
time in
there.
Stockholm.
Super nice.
Not a lot of crime. You wouldn't have had
I
if you
don't
were
know.
home, and if you were home, you wouldn't have had to quarantine.
No, would not be alive either. So I don't know. They had a different strategy, and I think that when once you're choosing your strategy, you have to stay with your strategy, and that's what they did. If it's right or wrong, it's way too early to say. It's we don't know if we did right or wrong here. So
I don't know. I'm glad I'm not the guy that had to make those decisions. By the way,
oh my God, can you imagine?
I've been listening to people like So for those of you not from New York, our governor is I'm now blanking on our governor's name. I was going to say Mario Cuomo, but it's his brother, his son, Cuomo, the other Cuomo, or is it Mario Cuomo? Anyway, whatever. And
Andrew.
there's this, and thank you, it's Andrew Cuomo. And there's been this whole debate about like who does he think he is trying to impose all these like draconian laws upon the people. He's not the king. And then there's a group of people that are like, thank you for keeping us safe, and there aren't a lot of people in the middle in New York. Like
Well,
those are
it
the two
kind of
sides.
it kind of explains the U.S. to me.
Right, and we promised we weren't going to talk too much about that.
I'm never talking politics. That doesn't matter. Like everybody has
Right,
their view. Like,
right,
but it's very black and white.
right.
I feel.
So New York is definitely after. I mean, and New York City. I mean, in everyone's defense, New York City was awful,
Hmm.
right? I mean,
Hmm.
the stories are awful, and how bad things were in New York and all that. So I'm not dismissing that. So there's these two sides to the Andrew Cuomo conversation, and at the end of the day, things here seem to be doing okay. Not great,
Yeah,
but
it
okay.
it was bad. Like I heard an ambulance every 10th minute here. It's like you're not going out if you hear that.
Well, you lived in Queens.
uh,
I mean, and you were in Queens, which was
yeah,
like the
but I was
center
in
of
the
the
heart
center,
of it. I was in the
right?
heart of it here. Yeah. So it was really we have Elmhurst just a few stations down. So it was bad. But anyway,
Okay, so
like
you're
you
back to
said,
so I just digress. I digress. You're in Sweden. You think you've seen New York on TV, and you think I'm going to move to New York.
yeah, a little bit like that. So I decided like, okay, so is there an in? Like you can't just pack your bag and go. So and I just opened this Swedish cafe that I've seen like one article of named Fika.
Right.
So I was like, okay, so do I know anyone that knows them? And my friend Matthias, he knew Lars, the founder. So I was like,
Right.
okay, so maybe I could talk to him and come over and work. Said and done. I went over, I started to work, and then I was stuck. I loved the city from day one. I really did. So But that's
So, but I mean, and that's when we first met, was sort of in that initial growth of Fika,
yeah.
where,
So for you who doesn't know, like we grew very very fast and way too fast, and never tried that because it was not very good. So we went from one store to 18 stores in a few in Manhattan. So 2012 or 13, we were the fastest expanding coffee and chocolate company privately owned in New York's history. And it was intense, but with that everything started to rumble, and then we got some issues with everything. I don't want to
no, I don't want you
point
to,
any
but
fingers, and that started, and we decided, okay, to save the company, we have to file a Chapter 11 and restart the whole process and save what we can save. So we did that, and we got in new funding, but it didn't hold up either. Um, After a while, it was already in such a Bermuda Triangle, all of it. But we met in that second expansion.
right,
I mean, we bought a couple of machines from you before that, but that was
right,
the temporary, so it wasn't really, it was plug and go more or less. So it was when I got the one shot and the pan coating machine and the
right,
Confit Maxi and the spider and everything. That's when I really needed you guys, and that's
right,
when we met the first time, you and me, I think.
yeah, yeah. You tried to electrocute yourself that week.
Yeah, I got shocked, passed
Not
out.
our fault.
Not your fault,
For the
man.
record, not our fault.
I took both and I passed out.
I look.
So
Where's Hawken? Anybody seen Hawken? Hawken's on the floor of the dish room. Why? Because he had like subpar electricians
it
who
was
tried to kill him.
it was interesting, and I didn't get any superpower, so it's crazy.
No. Wait, wait. I mean, so I said before you're a chocolate artist. I mean, you're a super creative guy, dude. Like, I mean,
Thank you. It's and that's what my new project is all about, because now it goes back to me, and it doesn't. I want to be inspired globally, not just Swedish. I want to create. It's going to be a lot of sculpting, a lot of sculptures, a lot for weddings, but also for me, and a lot of it's going to be e-commerce because that's the way to go now.
yeah. But I mean, I think what's interesting too. I was thinking about like the first time we met, you had to explain like Instagram stories to me, right? Like I understood Instagram, right? Like I got Instagram. I kind of was like, Facebook made sense to me, but you're like, no, Brian. You see, Instagram stories are really where you can show your creativity, and then it'll go away. And people are going to have to keep coming back and wanting more. And I was just like, what the F are you talking about? Right? But, I mean, I think that's just a piece. By the way, I'm looking at my phone because I'm looking at, like, I'm trying to find a picture that I like
Uh-huh.
that
Uh-huh.
shows what I'm talking about from you. I mean, the sculpture thing. So you never answered. Were you a sculptor first? You were a chocolatier first and then
I
became a
was a
sculptor.
chocolatier first, and I started to sculpt, and then I thought like, well, everybody can do this. This is not that hard. And it took me a lot of years before I realized, no, not everybody can do this because it's not in the head, it's more in the fingers actually. So I can sit in front of the TV and I can create my stuff if I want. It's better if you focus on what you're doing, but it's always nice to just work with it.
Toddler, Netflix, chocolate sculpture.
A little bit like that, yeah. It's tough, especially in a New York apartment in the middle of the summer. It's tough, but so anyway, we're looking for a space in one of the towns upstate to create this. I want to have access to the city, but I would be more than happy to have a little bit more of a quality life at the same time.
Your birch shed in the backyard, and like
Yeah,
your.
I
Did I
want to
kind of
have
get
my
it? Did I get this?
beehives and everything.
You're like the classical cosmopolitan European guy. you speak English better than I do.
That's definitely not true. I try
Like what?
every time we're getting an email, I'm trying to understand what they wrote because they're using words I've never heard.
What's your okay? So what? Speaking of your birch shed and your beehive. Like, what's your earliest food memory?
My earliest, so if it comes to chocolate, actually, my mom was she always had chocolate in her refrigerator, in the bottom of the refrigerator, and it was called block choklad, and it's like a baking chocolate with like coconut fat in. It's like it's really bad.
Not so good.
But I always took like one piece, so you wouldn't see that I stole it. I always went on the gingerbread houses. So I always have a sugar tooth, so it's I really love food. Like I was working out like crazy. I was a former swimmer and soccer player in Sweden on high level, so it was very. I could eat tons of food. I can still eat tons of food, but it doesn't just go away,
I heard something the other day, by the way. I've been quarantining so long that I lost 15 pounds and I put it back on.
Wow. That kind of sums it up. You really
Yeah,
think
like
you're
I
gonna
was
be
great.
like
Like
this is gonna be a healthy time?
people like too much in. They're like, "You look great. Did you lose some weight?" I'm like, "Yes, I did." How? I'm eating better because I was like cooking every meal I ate. Like we were buying good food, and then like I don't know, by like August, it's like, all right, I'm just gonna like deep fry some chicken because
Yeah,
it's delicious and I don't care
yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
So
It's tough.
so the earliest chocolate memory is stealing baking chocolate from your mom.
Yeah, that's kind of it. And
That's a nice story.
I love to eat. I love to eat. I love chocolate milk, like the cheap powder. I really love that. Me and my younger brother, we could take like a package of milk and just throw it right in there in a straw and then have it from the TV. Can't do that anymore. But
See,
yeah,
I was kind of hoping you were going to say it's like the trip to IKEA for the meatballs. Like I thought that was going to be like,
mm, we always had hot dogs outside. I still do. Like I can't leave an IKEA without having the hot dogs outside.
do they import them from Sweden? For
Probably not.
no,
Probably not. I
I
doubt
so I
anything is made in Sweden.
right. I grew up in Philadelphia in the 70s and
Yeah.
70s and 80s, right? And the first IKEA in the United States was in Philadelphia, right? So like it was a big deal. Like
Yeah.
IKEA, the trip to IKEA, like which is my whole understanding of Sweden until I was like 25 or something, was IKEA, right? So you would the family would pack up, right, and make sure the car was completely empty because you're going
Yeah.
to fill it, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to drive to IKEA and you had to like wait in line and like to get in the place and like then you walked around for like 2 hours and then you bought everything and then you went to the little you went and you had like meatballs and lingonberry something. That's
Yeah.
really all I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah. Yeah. It still
You know,
is. I grew up 40 minutes with a car from Elmhult, the original, the first one. So that's how close I was to IKEA. It's pretty cool. It's
everything's not made in Sweden anymore,
everybody
though.
knows this one. Not really, no.
No,
But it's fun.
nothing.
It's fun how you say it. Like you come in there with an empty car, and you're gonna have one or two things, and then it's full up, and like I have to sit like this in the front.
We're going to get you a new desk, Brian. We're just going to get you a desk and like 14 glasses, a new lamp, 2 boxes of plates, some strainers, and like 2 paintings you don't really need, and a duvet cover.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, our
Some of the
couch.
stuff is really good too, though.
I mean, like I'll tell you that I think my IKEA phase is over, like in my life. But our couch in my living room is still an IKEA
Yeah,
couch, and we've had it forever.
yeah.
We just get a new cover every like 3 years.
It's perfect.
There you go.
Perfect.
It's very See, maybe that's really still all I know about Sweden. It's still IKEA. That's my and you. Like that's my perception of IKEA. And then
Well,
like
that
a
wraps
series
it
of
up
books.
more or less.
Isn't there a series of mystery books by that's like some Swedish detective?
The Dragon Tattoo.
Oh yeah, so that okay, I've read all those, right?
Yeah, those are good. But you also like you have Pippi Longstocking and like Anders Celsius for the Celsius degree, he was Swedish. Carl von Linné that named every botanical there is, he was Swedish. So there's been a lot, and I mean we were Vikings, so we were a little bit everywhere as well.
And you're really good cross-country skiers.
Yes, that too.
Not as good as like Denmark or Norway, but
No,
you're up
a
there.
little
You're in
bit
the top
faster.
3.
Yeah, I'm not one of those. I can say that.
So what else is going? I mean, like I don't know what else is going on. Like there's been all these people. I've been looking. Like Michael Ricuti's been here. There's like people like having conversations now.
Yeah, my buddy
This
Jonsstedt I see here now.
is he a fellow Swede?
He's a fellow Swede.
You want to
So
say hi in
nice.
Swedish? Then there could be
Tjena,
another language.
tjena. No, so my plan is really to expand what I'm doing and being more creative. And I really, it's fun to do bonbons and truffles and so on, but I really want to get into the sculpting and doing that. I'll be holding classes. There he is. Tjena, tjena. Doing classes, doing events, tastings, and so on. But I'm also going very live online. That's the whole thing. But it's hard from the apartment, so step by step.
Yeah, I mean that's us too. I mean we had a whole schedule of classes this year that we had to cancel all of them, which sucks. But we're doing our last class of the year is with Nicolas Batamisi. And we're going to do online. We're going to try and see. I think people, like I've done a lot of stuff online in the last 6 months, and I think people are getting more used to it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely harder. I mean, as you know, it's harder as the educator to like get that information across when people can't touch it and hold it, right? It's way easier to like show somebody something when they're here.
I noticed that a lot because, especially when it comes to the language barrier. I'm like, I have decent English, but there's still like you get the hiccups on a lot of different terms on how to explain stuff accurate. And it's the same because our market and via social media, it's not just, I'm not just in New York, you're in Turkey, you're in Australia, you're in India, you're in Pakistan, you're everywhere,
right?
And English is very different. It's a universal language, but there's very different levels of it. So sometimes it's really hard to understand questions as well, and then you're gonna answer them in a very easy way, and that's tricky.
Right. Yeah,
Nicholas is great, though. Good friend.
Yeah, I mean, we took a class. My sister and I took a class. It was in Mumbai, right? And right, because it was with Anil, right? Who I used to work with, Anil Rohira, who's with Southland now. That was something that was experiencing, and I think Anil has lived in the United States longer than he lived in India, but ingredients are different, right? So he's like talking about, here's an ingredient, this is where I bought it, and it's like, what are you talking about? Like I understand what you're saying, but I don't know what that ingredient is, and I don't have any clue where to get it, and I don't know how to use it. And I think I think one of the cool things that's coming out of this is that we've become really cross-cultural, because who cares? It doesn't cost anything. Get on the Zoom and watch that teacher teach somewhere else. And even for me, like there's some people on this call, watching right now that I know, there's this contingent, a group of people from the Middle East that tune in every Friday, at 9:00 at night on a Friday afternoon. And that's cool, because it's here for them. But at the same time, there's still those subtle differences like you talked about.
Yeah, they tell me, like, I'm from here and here. We don't have this knowledge here. So, but now via all the social media, you're able to gain that info. which
Right.
is cool because like everybody that I know that's in this profession, they'll help you with anything because it's not as it was when we grew up when everything was shut down and you really had to be snarky about info and you couldn't leave a company and yada yada yada.
Right.
Now it's like you go in on Instagram and you're like, oh, how did they do that? And they explain it right there.
Yeah, I like funny thing about that. Like we had one of these people that I'm talking about posted a picture on Facebook,
Yeah,
and I'm like, I have no clue how they did that. And
yeah,
normally I'd like walk away, right? Like I'm gonna go spend 2 hours in the kitchen trying to figure that out.
yeah,
No, I like, how did you do that? And she explained the process. Like,
yeah,
and it was like,
yeah,
thank you. Like, and
yeah,
and I guess I do that too, right? But I'm not selling stuff, so if I do it, it's not a big deal. Like that's my job, is to teach people how to do stuff.
yeah.
But she was like, sure, I'll tell you. This is how I did it. I'm
No,
like,
yeah, but
cool.
it comes in different. Like you can tell them you still need the skill to execute it over and over and over again, and that's
Right.
not you can't read that in a book. You can't
No,
like,
you can't get
and
that on Instagram.
you can't. And if you're very secretive yourself, you're never gonna get any help. It always karma. It always hunts back at you. It's like I can tell people about like how do you sculpt an eagle. I'm like, yeah, well, start with a beak. What's that gonna help? Like you really have to have the understanding of it, and I'll be happy to show you. But at the same time, you have to figure out how it works for you.
Right. My first chef, like I worked in a big hotel, and
Yep.
inevitably you'd get the guests that would be like, this is the best whatever I've ever had. Can you give me the recipe? And the first time that the banquet captain walks upstairs, I look at the banquet captain and I'm like, chef's not going to give you his recipe. And chef kind of leans over the corner and goes, what recipe do they want? And it's like, we're going to give them the recipe? And chef's like, yeah, that doesn't mean they can make it, right? Like, to your point, like, I can show you how to do something, and I can give you the ingredients, and I can give you I can give you the entire mise en place list from
Hmm.
the whisk I use to everything.
Hmm.
But you're gonna have to make that 10 times before you get comfortable with that, whatever that process, that recipe, right?
Yeah. And also, if you do, like, if they become better than you, then you really succeeded, haven't you? It's like teaching Mr. Miyagi. Like, if the second you becomes greater than the master, that's you serve your purpose.
Yeah,
But you
like
have to put down your
I was,
hours.
yeah, I was literally on a Zoom call with a customer before this who's buying a one shot, right? And
Oh, nice.
they don't have a ton of chocolate experience, and they're in the cannabis industry, and they were very worried about like the learning curve. And I said, look, my goal is for you never to talk to me again. Like
Hmm. Yeah.
I want to be able to impart every bit of knowledge I have on you, so that, I mean, not so you go away, but so that you don't need to call me. Like you know the answer to that intuitively. My assistant said something about that the other day. We were talking about a problem, and we were in this conference and like sitting on opposite sides of the conference room with our our masks up, and
Yeah.
we walk into our stock room, and I said, hey Beth, I think this is what we should do to solve this problem. And she looked at me and goes, that's cool, that was my solution too, right? And when we reach those places with people that we trust, you know,
Yeah.
that's really cool. When like you said, when Mr. Miyagi goes, cool, I'm done. See ya. I'm out. Peace. Good luck. You know,
Yeah.
that's when I feel like I've won, you know.
Yeah. But you never know where you're learning stuff. That's the beauty. Especially now, like I'm looking at everybody. It doesn't mean I'm making everything, but I'm impressed every day of what people are doing. But I worked a lot with the Swedish schools back at Fika, so I always had like a bunch of students, and like they're asking you questions that you never thought of. Like, why are you doing it like this? Why not doing it like that? And there's two answers. Either you're like, we always done this,
Right.
or you're right. That's better. Let's do this because you really have like you can explain it why you're doing it if it's a better way. But if it's not a better way, why not just switch it? I've seen that with for example the one shot. The one shot was a learning curve for sure
Yeah.
since I had one, but that is a fun machine, man. It's once you figure it out and you realize, I know how much I talked to you about it. I'm like, yeah, you have to go 1 millimeter more, 2 millimeter
Right.
more. That's it. And once you
Well,
know
because
exactly what
because
you're
it gives you
doing,
time to innovate, right? Like the machine does the work,
yeah.
right? Like if I don't have to worry about like filling pralines with 55% filling so that they're
Hmm.
exactly the same, so my costing works, so that all that stuff. Once I'm done, cool. Now I can
Yeah,
go do the stuff I want to do, which is write the new verbena cardamom recipe.
yeah, yeah.
I don't think that'll. By the way, I don't think that'll work. I was coming up with a couple kooky flavors for you, but I don't think verbena and cardamom. Maybe,
There's only one way to find out. That's what I say.
maybe in a milk chocolate,
They could, they could.
maybe a jelly layer, like something like a jelly of the verbena, and
Yeah.
then like a milk chocolate cardamom.
Mm. So I really cardamom is very Swedish. It's not very Swedish, but we're using it a lot in Swedish. We do cardamom buns, and we're doing a lot of stuff. So I played a lot with cardamom.
Right.
I'm actually launching a bar very soon that's has cardamom. It's my signature dark bar. It's gonna have cardamom in it because it's a very unused flavor here. I think. Like I don't see cardamom very often here. Do you?
No, but I like cardamom a lot. It's one of those,
That's
and I'm not a big spice guy in my chocolate. I gotta be honest with you, but I
no.
like cardamom because it's not it doesn't have to be really strong to be there. And I think when it's there less, it's nuanced and you don't know it's there.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's not that, you don't have to do that like chili bar,
Yeah.
that,
You can have the flavor or the heat. Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I
Like cardamom, you can do a lot of stuff with, and it blends nicely with other things. So like grapefruit, which is another one of those flavors that you can't do really strong because it gets really bitter and kind of gross. But
uh,
grapefruit and cardamom, I think, work really well together.
it does. It does. It does. I love it with pear, lemon. There's a lot of way to use it where it's not overpowering. You just have to find that balance to it. I love to work with spices. I love to work with everything regarding to chocolate, but and everybody it's different here compared to Europe because Europe is more of a more dark chocolate than milk, and here
Right.
it's kind of 50-50. I feel like, especially in my sales, that's been the case. Um, you'll never go wrong with milk chocolate and caramel here.
Hey, so that's Michael Rakuti, by the way, and he's saying
Oh,
grapefruit peel and tarragon.
yeah, that sounds good.
Look, we're just giving ideas. Like everybody's like, but this is what we're talking about. Michael Rakuti,
Yeah,
who has been a guest on the show,
yep,
is like, one of the early guys to this industry, right? I mean, like, he's a rock star.
yeah.
I mean, he's the real deal, right? He was making caramel when you and I were in short pants, right? But
Eating
no, you should have him tell the story about the time about him walking across America, by the way. But that's all for another time.
it.
Um, I wonder what he tattooed on. What did you tattoo on your arm, Michael? But
Rockstar.
but like, yeah, rockstar. But like he's given ideas, right? Like
Yeah,
if we're talking about ideas, here's one for you. You still got to execute it.
yeah,
Like because you're telling me that you're doing pear and cardamom doesn't mean anything until you spend some time on the marble putting it together, right?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it takes time, and I've done a lot of stuff that's really good, but also done a lot of stuff that did not turn out.
Okay, so what's the one thing you were positive was going to work, and people tasted and were like, "Dude, you're crazy. This sucks."
Well, it usually don't come to that stage if I don't find it
No. If you
decent.
you were like, "This is great.
Yeah,
We're gonna sell 1,000,000 of these," and you sold 2, and you bought them
yeah,
both.
yeah. So everything with licorice in this country. I love licorice, and people. Sweden is a big licorice country, and I did a lot with black licorice and lemon. It's very nice combo. I did like a caramel ganache, so fuse it together with it. Never. A little bit salt on it, perfect. No. And I
Not so
tried,
much.
I pushed. I could switch the liquor,
Did the
and it
did this
wasn't that
did
they
this
didn't like it. It won't sell. Like, well, some didn't like it.
did the Swedes at least buy it?
Yeah. Yep.
Look, Michael's saying
Oh,
his train wreck was gin and pink peppercorn patafouille.
yeah. I can see that. I did an ice cream once with liquid smoke and pop rocks, and that was fucking disgusting. I can say that.
Yeah, like that. I write that one down, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like
I had
your
this like
assistant looked at your.
pirate chest in my
It was on
head.
the prep list, and your assistant kind of looked at it like, I don't know, HÅKAN. Are you sure?
I quit.
Yeah. Okay. So I used to work for AUI, right? And I worked with Anil here, who's now with Southland.
Mhm.
And I went to Thailand, right? And I brought back processed durian in like
Yeah,
plastic, like in this
yeah,
Tetra pack and whatever. And it lived in my freezer forever. And I'm like, okay, I got to do something with this. And I'm not doing something with it in my home kitchen because my kitchen was like the size of like a closet. So I take it in and I'm like, I'm going to make ice cream with it. I decided I'm going to make durian ice cream, right? So I'm cooking it. And the rule in that kitchen was if we were trying something, we finished it. Like we went all the way through the process and we made it and we tasted it. Anil walks up to me and looks at me and goes, "What is in that pot?" And I'm like, "I'm making durian anglaise, chef." And he's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Because I'm making ice cream." And he's like, "That is not going in our Carpigiani. Throw it out. And don't throw it out in here. Take it to the dumpster and throw it out." I'm like, "Okay." So I take my little $6 worth of durian, and I'm like
yeah.
pissed, right? Because I wanted to finish it. And I'm walking through the warehouse and people are scattering because durian does really smell like rotting
It
flesh and feet.
does. It does. It
And
does.
one of there was the people that worked in candy packing were all from Vietnam, right? And one of them pops out of their little closet and it's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, it's going to the dumpster. And they're like, "It smells like durian." And I'm like, "It is durian." And they're like, "Well, what is it?" I'm like, "Well, it's like durian sauce,
Yeah.
right? Because it's got vanilla and I've made anglaise, right?" And they're like, "You can't throw that out." I'm like, "Look, here's the deal. I can't take it back to the kitchen until this pot is empty. So you can have the pot, but you have to bring it back to me when you're done." And like, she takes it from me and was like, "Thank you," and like walks away, right? And the candy packing team there were really great people, but they were really tight. Like a couple of
Yeah.
them didn't speak much English and like all this stuff. Like they all walked up to me the next couple of days like, "Thank you. Thank you. That was the best thing ever." And I'm like, "You're welcome." So to this day, I still really haven't had durian ice cream and I really want it.
I never understood my main man Richie. Um, he Indonesian. He's back in Indonesia now, and he brought durian quite a few times, and I didn't really. I could never. I tried it time after time, and I cannot understand how it could taste good.
I mean, it does smell like rotting flesh and feet.
It does. It really does. It really does. Should I do the story
The
about?
Thailand hotel had a big sign that said "No durian" in the hotel. Like you were not allowed to bring durian into the hotel in Chiang Mai.
Should I do the story about the fighting
Okay, well,
sculpture?
yeah, I do. There are two questions. So one was, do you have a good source for licorice in the U.S.?
I might. I have to go back and check if they're still in business.
It's Mike. It's Rakudi that wants to know. If you don't know how to
Okay,
reach him, I
great.
know how to reach him. And the
Okay.
other one is, do you still like on the anise flavor? Are you still working the rest of it, or have you like given up? Is it like it's not going to sell? I'm not doing it anymore.
No, I'm still working on it. I'm gonna have it. It's a Swedish thing. I'm gonna have regular flavors and so on, but everything that I'm gonna do is gonna represent parts of me, and licorice is a part of me. So I'm definitely gonna do something with anise or whatever flavor I like.
Got it. Okay, so I alluded to a story that you got contracted to do a chocolate sculpture
Yeah,
of somebody famous.
yeah. So this is 2009 or 2010 ish, I think. So Dana White, the president of MMA and UFC, having I think there was like 15 years celebrity showdown in. I think the fight was in Jersey. They had like a big event here. So this PR company, they can you do this is 3 days before. Can you do Dana White's portrait? Dana White's portrait in white chocolate, in chocolate, I should say. And we need it in 2 days. I'm like, are you crazy? But at the same time, I was like, maybe this is it. Maybe this is. Yeah, I'll do it. Portrait, as people know that sculpt know, is super hard to do. Especially if you're not like having a really big character. It's easier to do a character than a chocolate. But I was like, I printed out some pictures, and this is 10 years ago. You know, a picture and everything online is different compared to now. So I printed it out and I started to sculpture him as I was doing during the evening. Created him. I made him in white chocolate. He's a white guy, and his name is White. What was symbolic, whatever. So I made him. I got into it and realized that's not really clicking. But it went exactly.
It kind of like you.
Yeah. It went viral in a very bad way. There was thousands of people came off and like thousands, and they were like gonna beat me up, called me racist because I made white chocolate. They took Shrek face and placed it on mine and switched it, and they were doing all different versions. And we were really intimidated for a while, and then you see that their name is like Terminator 2002, like Jersey, like it's so crazy. They did. Someone did a Flash game, Flash play, where it was called Shoot the Chocolatier. So I coming running in here. It was my machine running in. Hit it. I think I made a chocolate sculpture.
Yeah.
Imagine that now.
Like there'd be like camps, like people would be like, he's the greatest chocolatier sculptor guy ever, and there'd be there'd be debate about it.
Yeah, it's crazy. First, I got like intimidated. It was the first real dash with the internet hate that I dealt with since then. It's like whatever. People live as trolls. But
but speaking of that, like I was doing all these demos for free, right?
yeah.
And I feel like people would call comments like, hey, I just want to let you know, thanks for doing that for free. But you know, you really need to work on this. Like, could you work on this? I'm like, yeah, I could, but next time you could pay. I mean, and like I would go home and it'd be really, like you said, I'd be ashamed. Like, this person doesn't like me. And like, who doesn't like you? Like, you know, 32.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
like, Mom 32 said that my demo sucked. I'm like, but
dude, I
Bob
told
Newhart
my
didn't
brother,
like me.
and I so stupid. I told my brother, and he almost his pants. He was laughing so hard, and I was like, yeah, maybe not. But then I was thinking about like a soccer team, right? Let's say the best soccer teams. They always have that one. Like in Sweden would be Zlatan Ibrahimovic, right? So
Is that like Manchester United?
yeah, and it's whatever.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It's it doesn't you can bring it into any sport.
I know
Like
what you mean.
you're representing your country, right? You're every Saturday you're on the field running for 90 minutes fighting for this. And every Sunday you're getting shit in the magazine on how bad you are from people eating chips in the couch from home. And the next Saturday you're back there running and they are still just, and that's kind of how it is. And it's even in our business now. Like it doesn't matter what you people love to comment on that.
Yeah, I know. All right, so we're running out of time, but I asked this question to everybody.
Shoot.
I know, now it's an hour. It felt like 2 minutes. So you stop at you're out pushing the stroller.
Yeah.
With 2 babies soon. You got the 2 dogs.
Yeah.
Right. You stop at the bodega.
One of them is here.
Look at that.
This is Elvis.
Look, and now Chris Elbow's here. You stop at the bodega for a bottle of water, and you decide you want a mass market candy bar. What do you buy?
A mass market candy bar. Smart. Snickers.
Thank you for answering that quickly and honestly. Thanks for not making that hard.
No. So
caramel,
this is
nuts.
No, it's great. It's just that it's candy. That's the big thing. And I'm out for candy. I'm not out for a $25 one in the world kind of bar.
I don't have a problem with that. That's all. That's what I wanted from you. I wanted to know what you wanted. A Snickers bar. That's a good answer. I'm a Kit Kat guy myself.
Yeah, Kit Kat. Kit Kat is
but
good.
Snickers, we'll take Snickers. All right, so this is your opportunity. You got anything you want to plug? You got anything like go to your like Instagram page? Anything?
Yeah, check out my Instagram. That's where I will be posting everything about my release of my new company and where I will be and how that will come together. And
you got some molds available soon from Tomric.
Very cool. So the left one is
this one.
It's not a cookie. It's a seashell that I'm thinking for weddings, for wedding favors.
Nice. And this bar is 85 grams, by the way.
Good. Should be.
Which it must be because
can have a lot of fillings.
80 grams on the back, and the mold will have 3 of them.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Hey, HÅKAN, thanks a bunch for spending some time with me today.
Thank you so much, Brian. Super fun.
And we'll get together one of these days. We'll be somewhere. Like, eventually somebody's going to be allowed to get on an airplane.
Yeah, exactly. We're not far from each other, though, so maybe on my way up to Watertown, I'll pop by Buffalo.
Not really on the way, but maybe we can meet in Syracuse.
Perfect. Deal.
Have a garbage plate.
And soon I'll probably need some machines, too, so I'll talk to you then.
All right. So, HÅKAN, thanks for joining us, and thanks everybody else for joining us. We still have a bunch of people here, and this has been great. And next week, by the way, Melissa Koppel's here next week.
Cool. Very cool.
So you should tune in.
Definitely will.
All right, man. Thanks a bunch. We'll talk soon.
Talk soon. Cheers.
Bye, everybody.